Now, this part of the Ed portfolio, I'd like to take the time to go over both my personal goals and my professional goals. I wanted to utilize the technology to go over both. I thought it was a more intimate way, a more meaningful way to go through both. The personal goals have a lot to do with the fact that I am a driven person. Um, it goes back to, well, first of all, it starts with when I went out to visit Dr. Cherney in October of 2012. I needed to make sure this was the program, the doctoral program, that was right for myself, my family, but especially myself, especially after I talked to Dr. Cherney. She made it clear, you're right, Chris, this is a selfish decision. This is something that you will do for yourself. That's really rung true. Um, this program has been an education for me. It's really made me reflect on things much more than I have ever done in the past. It seems like, when I was working on my bachelor degree in undergrad, it was kind of jumping through hoops. When I got my master's degree, it was one of those things I did to get at the top of the pay scale when I was teaching after my, what was it, my fourth or fifth year of teaching. However, and then I got my administrative credentials, and I really enjoyed that. I did, especially the internship itself. However, as far as education goes, this is by far been the best thing that I've ever done. And it's not just for me, it's not just those personal goals of the grades. I didn't go into this thinking I want to have a 4.0. That's just not me. Okay? What it was I needed to be consumed by this program, regardless of the grades, really. It was every discussion, every assignment, responding to people. It needed to be well thought out. Okay, it was a process. This was the first time, really, I have to admit, that I didn't just get a writing prompt, write it, proofread it, and then turn it in. It was much more of a process. It was a process of dwelling on the writing prompt, mini bike rides during the spring and summer, not so much in the winter, it's too cold. To where, yeah, and the fall. Actually, it's pretty nice around here in the Northwest. And really thinking about those things, thinking about what we're writing about, thinking what we're engaging in, whether it's a bonfire in Texas A&M, writing about online education, marriage, divorce, the NFL concussion issue that we have now. I've written about a lot of different things, and I've really, really enjoyed that. I think it parallels, it goes hand in hand with the way I was raised. And when I say that loosely because when my parents divorced, I was kind of really on my own from about fifth grade on, which is fine. However, what you need to do, you need to identify yourself with something. And what that was for me was for athletics. Okay? So, especially as I had more success going into high school and stuff, I really have abided by the words of my high school football coach, to where when we got knocked down, you had to get back up. You got knocked down, get back up. You get knocked down, get back up. You get knocked down. We got knocked down a lot. They'd get a first down, we had to get back up. And I have abided by that my whole life. There's been things that have knocked me down. There have been people along the way, my high school counselor, and I'm not faulting her for any reason here, but she did state that, I would never make it in college. Based on the fact that neither of my parents went to college, they both just graduated from high school. One didn't even graduate from high school. Therefore, I understand where she's coming from, but those types of things are a driving force. They have become a motivator. In my 809 reflection paper, I talk about a line from Simon and Garfunkel's song, The Sound of Silence. And it's, "Hello darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk with you again." The darkness that we're talking about is not that same one we talked about in the ethics class, that shadow, that darkness, almost running with demons. It's more of a darkness of when my parents divorced, I didn't have no say in that. And it was a very lonely time. Again, it was just my dad and I, and he was suffering through it at the same time I was. Um, However, you keep going. There was challenges along the way. On the athletics part of it, has given me the opportunity to get my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, and now my doctorate degree. And I say that because it's more the mentality of, hey, you've been knocked down, but get back up. Um, so, you know, my personal goals is always reaching for the stars, always accomplishing more than people could ever imagine, and more than what I could ever imagine. I remember taking the ethics class 802, which was one of the most difficult classes, and not sure if I belonged. And then that summer, being able to talk to those in my cohort, and we all had insecurities, and that was good for me. It was good to hear from others. We have really communicated to each other, text each other, called each other throughout the process, and I couldn't have made it without those in my cohort too. And that's something to be said for Creighton. It's not a competitive doctoral program, which I think many people succumb to that. Therefore, I think it's more of a collaborative process where we help each other, not only just my classmates, but also professors, talking to them, getting advice, getting constructive feedback. And to be honest with you, when a paper is, as they say, when it's when a professor turns it back and it's bleeded upon, or bled upon, I guess, you know, I don't take it personally. I want to get better. I want to learn, from the advice that they give you. Now, my professional goals, and I wanted to keep this around 10 minutes. It's interesting because my professional goals aren't a neat, clear path. In education, you teach, then you probably coach, consider going to an administration, then maybe go to district office, then maybe be a superintendent, assistant superintendent, superintendent. However, I've chosen not to go that route. I've taught, coached many sports, middle school, high school. I've been an athletic director and associate principal. Really enjoyed that. Definitely tried. It was a trying time. Both I've worked with great leadership teams. However, I worked with some that it was a very difficult time in my life. About 2007. So, I'm to the point in my life where I know it is apparent I'm a servant leader. I like serving those that I work with. When I was at a local high school here, in my athletic director, associate principal job, I believed in working with the teachers that I evaluated. I was in their class a lot, which, my principal didn't really like. I was helping them out. We were doing things together, teaching some class together, doing things together, talking a lot. But I wanted them to feel comfortable with me, and we bounced ideas back and forth as teachers. Love the kids. Absolutely love the kids. That's what it's all about. Once an educator, always an educator. So I really enjoyed that. Do I miss that? Yeah, at times I do miss that because now, I've been teaching online the last 6 years. So that path, that leadership, that, position, I guess you'd talk about as a professional goal. I'm not sure what that is at this point. I have many interests. I have interest in online education, which I am writing about as far as my dissertation goes. I have a lot of interest in the impact of both marriage and divorce on couples and families. I also have a great interest in things like the impact of concussions on players. As a former player, I've had many concussions and the impact that they have had on me. So I understand where a lot of these players are coming from when they are bringing up these suits against the NFL. The one thing I understand, like with me, though, I need to keep the mind exercised. Just like my body when I was an athlete. Lifted weights all the time, would hit all the time, catch passes, whatever it was. You have that rote learning. Well, I have to keep that going in my mind as well to make sure I don't let it disintegrate, which I think many of these football players that have had the numerous discussions in the NFL, that has been the case. They've let them just disintegrate without using them. So you have to continue to exercise the mind. With that being said, so that's a whole lot there. Um, you know, I do have my current job here, and let's face it, part of this is a financial payoff. If people are saying it's not, well, I, I would probably disagree with that. We do want some financial payoff as far as this goes once we complete the program and defend our dissertation. I do like my job now. I really do. I think there's greater things out there for me as well. And, we have that student loan to pay for when that'll come up after, this program. We have kids, et cetera, that we want to put through school. So, I thought at least have my job now and supplement it some way. I thought about writing maybe, which I do have a story to tell. And writing is a process. You have to keep doing it. You have to keep doing it. You have to keep doing it. Um, but there's a lot of different things that I think I could write about. So at this point, we'll see with the professional goals. I think there'll be different things that come up. I am going to renew my administrative license. Not 100% sure if I want to go that route again. And when I come back out in February, I do want to discuss this also with the career counselor that I talked to when I came out last summer. So that's my professional goals, my career goals. I just want to thank everyone in the program for giving me the opportunity to go through this program, one that I didn't think I belonged, but I definitely feel like I do, and have even become kind of sad to know that it's coming to an end, that it will come to an end, within the next probably, 10 to 11 months. But there's so much still to be done and learned. And again, thank you to everyone at Creighton for even considering my candidacy.